All right. So hopefully you had a chance to look at your agenda and see what we were going to cover today. At the end of class, we're going to visit our poetry site. Just because I want to make sure that you guys have had a chance to look at some, other students' work. And Jeremy, this isn't something we've done in sixth grade, but it'll still be fun for you to kind of see some of the poetry. It's pretty cool. Okay, just so you remember, kind of what we're doing in book club is we are working on our enduring understandings, and that's that humans use strategies to construct meaning. So, how that relates to our book is we're going to use a reading strategy to make meaning of our book, and two reading strategies that we've already covered this year, and we're going to be covering a new one pretty soon. But the two that we've already talked about this year are connections and predictions. So, I know it's been a while because this was before fall break, but does anybody have any connections or predictions that you made while you were reading chapters 6 through 10? Maybe you made a connection to one of the characters, or maybe you made a connection to a book that you've read that this book reminds you of. Or maybe you made a connection to a movie that you've watched before. Or maybe you made a prediction about what is going to be happening in the upcoming chapters. Or maybe you made a prediction about one of the characters and what's going to happen to one of the characters. Maybe you made a prediction about the main character and what her life is going to be like now that she went back to the island. Anybody want to share? Go ahead, Jordan.
Um, so she and her brother were at a campfire and heard wild animals, and when I go camping and sit by the fire, I hear a lot of wild animals too.
Yes. So you know what it's like to be camping and to listen to wild animals in the background. And how does that make you feel?
Um, I don't really actually know. Kind of like comforting, but kind of scared.
Comforting, but scary at the same time. What if you and your little brother were the only people camping? Then how would you feel?
That would probably be really scary.
That would probably be a slightly different feeling. However, you still made a really good connection because you realize what it's like to go camping. And she was camping in a sense. I mean, she was home, but, they were out in the wild. So that definitely is a connection. Anybody else? Any other connections? No? What about a prediction? Did anybody make a prediction about maybe the upcoming chapters or what might happen to one of the characters? Or maybe you could just make a prediction now without really having to have written it down. Okay, Jordan.
Um, so I predicted in chapter 11 that the ship won't come back to them for a while because it probably has to take time to get to the place they're going and then come back to them, which will probably take a really long time.
That's right. Okay, so Jordan predicts that the ship won't come back because it's really going to take a long time because it's not fast like a car and it's not fast like an airplane. It takes a long time for them to get to the place that they're going, and then they'd have to turn around and come all the way back. So she's predicting that it might not come back at all. She might be right. We'll see. Okay, so we'll kind of move on down. Let me just kind of remind you about our goals for book club. And so far, we've done a pretty good job of communicating. So, sharing our thoughts and our questions and ideas. That includes, predictions and connections. So, remember, guys, there's no right or wrong answers. So just share your thoughts. Collaborating, so we're working together to understand more about the book and understand more about the theme. We're thinking critically about the different themes that I'm presenting and the different topics that come up in the book. And then you're also being very creative with the jobs that you've been completing. Everybody does these jobs a little bit differently. So it's really kind of neat to see the differences between you guys and your creativity. Hi, Josh. Josh is joining us right now. If you could turn on your webcam, that'd be fantastic. And we'll get ready to get started sharing our jobs. Oops. Okay. So we had a couple, actually, I think Autumn was also a discussion director. Um, anyway, so she is not here with us this morning. She's getting braces, but I will be sharing her work in just a minute. We had a quotable quoter, which was Jordan and Christian. Guess Christian is not with us right now. And summarizer, we had Bradley and Jeremy, so we have at least Jeremy to give us our summary. Connector, we have TJ with us. Illustrators, I hope Kaylee can join us soon. And Word Wizard was Autumn, and she's not here. Josh, are you reading Island of the Blue Dolphins, or are you James and the Giant Peach?
James and Giant Peach.
Okay, so you're at 11 o'clock this morning. If your brother and sister are around, you can tell them that their book club is going on right now.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Josh. Okay, so what we'll do is we will get started with, I will just share Autumn's job, the discussion director. And so what Autumn did was come up with really good questions for us to discuss. So let's look at them. Okay. First question that Autumn had. If anyone told you that you couldn't go back to save your little brother or sister, what would you do? So think about that for a second, and this is a discussion. So this is something that all of you can answer because there's no really right or wrong answer. So if somebody told you you could not go back to save your little brother or sister, what would you do? TJ, what would you do?
I would be sad.
You would be sad? Would you jump off the boat like Karana did, or would you just take their word for it and stay on the boat and do what they told you to do?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, it's kind of hard to guess because you haven't really been in that situation before, and that's a really tough situation. Christian, thanks for joining us this morning. We have book clubs, and so you and your sister are right now at 8:30. And if you want to turn on your microphone, or not microphone, your webcam, that would be awesome. Jeremy, what would you do if you couldn't go back and save your little brother or sister?
I would just jump off a ship.
So you would do what Karana did, and you would jump off the ship. I understand. Let's go on to Autumn's next question. What if your little brother or sister escaped an island without you? Would you try to look for them? Or would you stay in the cave where it's safe? Ooh. So you have a choice. You could stay safe and stay hidden and be in the cave. Or would you go looking for your brother or sister? Go ahead, Jeremy.
I would go looking for them.
You would go looking for him, so you would risk your life. Do you want to tell us why?
Because turn on your webcam. My sister and or brother, and I would put my life on the line for them.
Exactly. Sometimes for your family, you would do things that are really dangerous.
I know.
Okay, sorry, I'm muting a couple people while they figure out what they're up to this morning. Anybody else want to share for this particular question? What would you do? Stay in the cave or take off and try to find your brother or sister? Any other thoughts? No, that's okay. We'll go on to the next question because Autumn gave us quite a few good ones to discuss. Okay. Her third question was, why do you think her little brother called himself Chief? Um, I'm not going to even try to pronounce it, but it was some funny name. Chief Tana Solea or something to that effect. Why do you think he called himself that? And where did he get the name? Do you remember where he got the name? I'll give you just a little hint to guide your thinking. Um, Basically, he declared himself chief because this book was set back in the past, and it's kind of one of those things where the men were always, the chiefs. So basically, he was the only male. He wasn't a man yet, but he was the only male left on the island when it was just the two of them. So he decided that he would be chief. He was only about 6 years old, though, so I don't think he would probably make a very good chief. Do you remember where he came up with this funny name? Go ahead, Jordan.
Um, what I think it was by their language, a word from their language.
Yeah, it was a word from their language, and I'm not 100% sure what the word meant, but we can definitely come back to this and we can spend some time looking because that's a really interesting thing. I think it meant something specific. Um, but anyway, he declared himself chief because he was the only male left on the island. Probably not the best idea to be a chief. Here's another thing that, was kind of a mistake for him. He was only 6 years old and he decided that he was the chief. And so he felt maybe invincible. And that's probably why he went off exploring by himself, is because he had a feeling of being maybe a little bit older and more important than he really was. And obviously, that wasn't a good choice for a 6 year old to go out by themselves. Okay. So now we have Jordan who's going to share the quotable quoter job. Jordan, I'm going to try to make you the presenter so we can see your screen. Do you have it pulled up on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So hopefully we'll see your screen in a second. Maybe. It says waiting to view. Is there something that says like yes or
Yeah.
no and you can click on it?
I just clicked show my screen.
Okay, perfect. Yay, there's Jordan's screen. Okay, go ahead, Jordan.
Okay. So on page 44, it said, I thought it was interesting that to become a man, they have to be whipped and put on a red anthill without crying like a single tear.
That is really interesting. They had a funny way of making people become adults. It's just different people have different customs, but that's definitely not a custom that we do here in America, right? We don't whip boys and put them on a red anthill to make sure that they become a man. That's just not something that we do. What are some of and that's actually called a rite of passage. A rite of passage is when you are growing up and it's kind of your transition from being a child into an adult. That's called a rite of passage. And in this culture, that's what they would do to become an adult. What are some of the things that we do here in America to become adults?
We learn how to drive.
Yeah, that's definitely a rite of passage. The older you get, the more you become an adult and you're able to drive. What are some
And
other
then
things?
we
Jeremy?
also go to college.
Oh yeah, good. Definitely go to college. Go ahead, Jeremy.
You get to vote.
Yes, I was hoping somebody would bring that up because our election, as you know, is coming up in just a couple weeks. And so adults have the right of passage when you're 18 and you're able to vote. Very good. So here in America, we definitely don't put kids on red ant hills, but there are some customs in the Hispanic culture. They a lot of times have a party called a quinceanera, I believe it is, when they're 15 years old. I know Jewish communities have a party called a bar mitzvah, and that's kind of their transition into adulthood. So that was a really good thing for you to notice, Jordan. Um, and I'm glad that you brought that up because it actually opened up a whole discussion about rites of passage. So that was cool. Okay. Christian, I'm glad you're with us. You were also a quotable quoter. Christian, do you have your job ready to share?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going to make you the presenter. You're going to see a button that says share my screen. So click share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at Christian's screen. And go ahead and tell us the interesting parts that you found.
Oh, I thought that it was scary on page 30, paragraph 5, when he was running through the village, warning everybody that the Aleuts were coming back.
Hmm. That would be a
And
very scary feeling. He didn't know if he was going to make it back in time to warn his tribe members. Um, Also, it's just that feeling of anticipation of there's trouble coming again. We thought we were safe, but we're not. Um, what are some more thoughts that you had when you were reading that scary part, Christian?
I thought that they were gonna they would have to get away, or like they'd take them back as slaves.
That's right. That's right. So that would be a terrible feeling if you knew that people were coming to your island to capture you. And if you were caught, you were either going to be killed or made into a slave. So I agree. That's a very scary part. Go ahead and share your next part.
So on paragraph 30, I mean page 35, paragraph 3, I thought it was suspenseful when he was telling them that they couldn't get through because of the high tide, but they were going to get through sometime.
Oh, right. So that was the part when the boat was trying to leave, right? And it was really bad weather. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
part?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it was really bad weather and the boat was trying to pull away, but they were saying, well, we have to wait for the tide to go down and so suspenseful. Do you know what that word means, Christian? That's a really great word.
Like you're on edge. Like you don't
Exactly.
know what's going to happen next.
Yes, you're on edge. So I'm sure a lot of you have felt that feeling, like maybe when you're watching a really good movie and it's suspenseful and you're on edge waiting for what's going to happen to the characters. Um, that's kind of how this part of the book was, and that's a perfect example. Very good. And I'm glad somebody remembered their vocab words. It was before fall break, so I wasn't going to be too upset about the vocabulary words. But go ahead and share the words that you had for us, Christian.
Okay. I had spring and scan. Spring is a natural source of water,
Hmm.
and scan is to look at all parts of something in order to detect some feature.
Very good. So basically, we know the importance of the spring. The spring is where Karana was able to, get her fresh water. And then to scan something means to look it over. So she was probably scanning the ocean every day to see if the ship would come back for her, or worse yet, if the Aleuts would come back to the island. So she had to scan the sea every day. Very good. You did a great job, Christian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Our next person is Jeremy. Let's see. Jeremy, are you ready to share? Jeremy, are you ready to share your screen? Okay, so there should be a button that says share my screen. Cool.
Is it sharing? Show my screen.
And Jeremy was the
Is it showing my
summarizer.
screen?
So just so you
Is it
know.
showing my screen?
Yep, we can see your screen, so you could pull up your work.
Oop, a little bit too big. Everyone can see it?
Wow, that's a great summary. I can't wait to hear this.
Haha! I was gonna say I'm bad at summarizing. I just tell a lot of details and know.
That's good. So make sure you use a nice loud voice, Jeremy, and you could go ahead and start.
I need to fix it.
Do you want to read it for us, Jeremy?
So, in chapter 6 to 10, the white people came with a ship and brought the Native Americans to the island of the From the island of the Blue Dolphins to America to live, but when? What's the little boy's name?
Ramo?
I knew it. Went back to the village to get a spear. His tribe was already out on the waters. His sister, Karana, saw him running across the rock outcrop, and she began to worry and tried to jump off the ship into the water to go back to him, but her friends were holding her back. He ended breaking free and jumped into the water off the ship with a basket that was full of her belongings. But the basket made swimming difficult, so she let go and swam for shore back to her brother. You want me to read all of it?
Why don't you pull it up on your screen a little bit so it's a little higher?
That good?
Oh yeah, that's good. That's definitely good. I'll just kind of skim this next part and summarize for us. So they figured that the ship would return for them in a few days, but Karana was a little bit older and she kind of knew that the ship probably wouldn't return. And if it ever did, it's not going to be just a couple days. Um, Ramo decided that, he's the chief now, so he wanted a name for himself. We're gonna find out what that name meant. And then he decided that he was gonna go and try to act like an older male and go and do some hunting. Um, oh, somebody's phone is going, I think. Um, so basically, he decided that he was going to act like he was an older male, like the people on his island do, and go and hunt. But he ended up getting attacked by wild dogs and was killed. And now Karana is completely alone on the island. And so she has to decide to look for food. She has to come up with a place to live, and she has to come up with some weapons. She makes a promise basically to herself that she's going to kill every wild animal or wild dog, I should say, on the island. Um, so basically, she spends a lot of time waiting to see if the ship's going to return. She spends a lot of time also looking at the ocean to make sure that the alutes don't return. Um, because if they do return, she needs a safe place to go. Okay, very good, Jeremy. And I just want to tell you guys too, as far as being creative, you can now, you could take it upon yourself to basically do whatever kind of summary you want. You could type it up like he did, or maybe you want to make like a short video, or maybe you want to like record your voice just saying the summary for a couple minutes. There's all kinds of different options that you guys can do to present your jobs. I just wanted you to know that you can use any of your tools that you have to make it as interesting as you can. You can make a picture slideshow if you wanted to summarize, and then you would just talk us through it. Just so you know, you don't always have to type things. You can be very creative. So, okay, but that was very good, Jeremy. Now we have TJ. He was a connector. So, TJ, are you still with us? TJ? I don't see you on the webcam anymore, TJ, so I'm not sure if you're there. But we're going to come back to you in just a second to see if you're ready to share your job as a connector, okay? Illustrator. So this is a fun one, and this is really easy to be creative. But this was Kaylee P. So Kaylee, are you ready to share your screen? Kaylee, are you ready? Okay, so there's a button that says share my screen. Go ahead and click it. Cool. Oh, that's awesome. All right, tell us a little bit about your illustration and maybe what did you use to make this illustration?
I used Sketch and just stuck a bunch of different blocks together from that. And
Very cool.
this is Corinna and Ramo standing on the island after the boat's leaving. Because after
Yeah.
she jumped off. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's it. And I'm glad you included he's holding his spear. That was the whole reason that he went back, was to make sure that he had his spear. And there's Corona. You can notice that she's no longer carrying her basket full of goods because she had to drop it. And that's kind of unfortunate too, because that had all of her tools, it had all of her cooking utensils. So now she has to redo all of those things because they were on the boat with her and she had to drop that in order to swim. So now these two are stuck on the island, basically like Kaylee showed here, with trees and a spear. And that's about it. Very good, Kaylee.
Very good, Kaylee.
All right, TJ, I see that you're back. Are you ready to share your connector job?
Are you ready to share your connector job?
Okay, so I'm going to change the presenter. So TJ, you're going to see something that says share my screen. Go ahead and click yes, and then we'll see what your job was. Do you see something that says share my screen, TJ?
No.
No?
No.
Well, it says that we're now viewing your screen. So there should be something on there that says, there we go. Something should be coming up.
Pause. Why is there pause?
TJ, do you want to just start telling us your connections while we're waiting for your screen to show up?
Sure.
Okay, TJ, so why don't you just start telling us your
Just tell him what it says. Where'd it go? Okay, just say.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I can connect Karana because I do archery sometimes and she has a bow and arrow.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really interesting hobby, archery. Very cool, TJ. So yeah, she definitely she probably uses it for a much different reason. In Karana's life, she has to use it in order to hunt and be able to eat. And TJ, I'm sure, does it for just more for a hobby. So that's really cool. Did you have any others?
I found two books that sound interesting written by.
Should you read clear? Sound interesting?
Well, I found two books that sound interesting written by Scott Odell. One is called The Dark Canoe, and it is a boy who is sung to Nantucket with
Oh,
his
very.
brother. So
Yeah,
it's
so you're making a connection to the author Scott
interesting.
Odell, and some other books that he wrote. That's really cool.
It
I'm
sounds interesting
Yeah, I
because
hope that
one
you
of
can
his
read those.
brothers thinks he's the captain,
Captain Ahab.
Captain Ahab from Moby Dick.
Oh, right. And so he thinks he's the captain in the book Moby Dick, and then you think that's a connection between Ramo and how he thinks he's the chief in the book?
Yeah.
That's great.
Also, there's another book called Journey to Jericho. Jericho. It's about a boy who wants to be a miner like his father, but his father goes to California. His family has to go on a journey to Jericho, California, and the adventures and hard things that happen to them.
Oh, wow. So that's a great
She
connection
was also
between
wrong.
books.
So that's a great connection between books.
So that's a
Wrote.
text to text connection. Yeah, that book sounds kind of similar to this book. Very good. Anything else?
Book word muscles. Had word. He got his vocabulary words. Say vocabulary.
Have my vocabulary words.
Yes, go ahead and share your vocabulary words with us. What did you have this week?
Layer and muscle.
Okay, so what was layer?
Layer, an animal layer or shelter.
That's right. So it was a shelter, and that's where Karana decided to hide and build a shelter just in case the Aleuts came back to the island. And what was your next word?
And muscle.
Oh, muscle. Okay. And how was it used in this book?
And well, I was
Page 45. It's a quote from the book. Page 45. Page 45.
I think it was a sea creature, right?
well, yeah.
And they're able to eat those mussels. So yeah, that's something that
King.
people who live by the water often eat. Yeah. TJ, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for sharing. You did great. All right, guys, we have a couple more questions that we can discuss together, and we'll probably just have to raise our hands and just talk about them, because if we use the chat, it'll take kind of a long time to get through them. So my first question is, what is the first problem that the villagers have to worry about after their first winter without Kimchi? So what are they starting to worry about after their first winter on the island? Remember, this is before they left the island. Go ahead, Jordan.
The first problem is like who's gonna be the leader.
Yeah, I agree with that. First problem, who will be the leader? And I think there's something else they're also worried about. It's something called a basic need that we all have to have. Go ahead, Jordan.
Food.
Actually, it was the lack of water.
Oh,
They were worried about the lack of water on the island. Yep, go ahead.
this isn't for a question, but I have to go to my next school.
Oh, okay. It was so
Yeah.
great to see you, Jordan. you could watch the rest of the recording later if you want, or either way, we will see you next time. It was great.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, question number 2. What precautions, so that means how did they prepare? So what precautions did the villagers take in case the Aleuts return? So this was before they decided to leave the island. They're still there. They're suffering. Basically, a lot of their tribe has been killed. What do they do just in case the Aleuts come back again? Kaylee.
On a boat, on a canoe.
Oh, yeah.
They put boats with food and water in them.
Yep,
They could get out right away if the Aleuts came.
that's right. So they stock canoes with food and water, and they store them in a place. Wasn't it by the cliffs? They store them by the cliffs to escape quickly. So they decided that if the Aleuts return, they're not going to try to fight again. The first time that they fought, they lost most of their tribe. So if the Aleuts come back, they were just going to take off and leave. That's right. Okay, next question. Give evidence supporting the claim that Karana's sister was vainer than her. So how do you know that Karana's sister was more vain? And if you don't know what vain means, it means interested in your appearance. Christian.
She packed earrings instead of Corona, and she put that mark across her face that said she wasn't married.
Yes,
That's good.
that's right. She was worried about packing her earrings and her jewelry, and she was worried about making sure that everybody knew that she wasn't married and that she was available. Okay. Oh boy. Well, we already know who became the new chief of Galasat. Well, actually, it kind of depends on when we're talking about it. Before they left the island, before Karana and Ramo were left behind, who was the new chief on the island?
Matasayab.
Do you remember his name?
Well, Kinky or Matasayab?
Chief Jeller?
And actually, I'll just be real honest, this wasn't really an important part. This person basically just made it was Kimki, and they just decided that they were going to leave and find a new place to live. However, once they were alone on the island, Ramo was the one, he declared himself the new chief once they were alone. And was that a good idea? A good choice?
No.
That's right, TJ. I don't think it was either. Why was it a bad choice to have Ramo, a 6-year-old, be the new chief?
He's only a 6.
That's right. He was only 6, and he didn't understand the dangers of being a man on the island. He didn't understand what it was like to have to go hunting and to protect yourself. Plus, I mean, just realistically, he was a lot smaller than, a lot of people need to be when they are a man and they're carrying things and killing wild animals and that kind of thing. So he was definitely not understanding the danger. Okay, I think we probably know the answer to this one. What was the dangerous threat that Karana faces on the island? Kaylee.
The wild dog.
The wild dog.
That's right. And she makes a pact to kill, or makes a promise to herself to kill every single one of them. Why would that make her feel better? Go ahead, Kaylee.
For two reasons. One, because they killed her brother, and the second thing, because she'd feel much safer without any threat.
That is perfect. She would feel safer. She'd be able to sleep better at night because they wouldn't be circling the rock, kind of looking at her as food. So she would feel safer, and she would basically have revenge for killing her brother. Very good. All right, guys, we did fantastic today. Let's look at what we're going to be up to next. Our next assignment, and you actually have 2 weeks to do this, because we're not going to have book club again until November 5th. That means that there's no virtual classrooms next week. Next week, we are having conferences, and I sent out an email that hopefully all of your parents have seen. So if they haven't, tell your parents to check their email, where they can sign up for an email conference or a 15-minute virtual classroom conference. And so basically, the students don't have any virtual classrooms next week, but the parents possibly do. And the whole purpose basically is to share your progress and kind of what your grades are. And so you'll be going through your grades with your parents. You'll be sharing your screen, and you'll be showing them your assignments. And then, of course, I'll be, telling them my thoughts as well and sharing my progress report with your parents as well. So that's just kind of something to look forward to. So you have 2 weeks to read chapters 11 through 18. We're going to have a couple new vocab words. You have a new job, but like I said, you're going to have 2 weeks to do it. And then we'll meet again for book club on the 5th of November. Okay. So let's look at our new vocab words. And I am going to give everyone who's here about 3 to 4 words, and then I will email out the rest. So I'll just start with Christian. So Christian, you might want to write these down. You're going to have sandspit, sinew. Oops, I just misspelled your name, sorry. And utensils. You got that, Christian? Give me a thumbs up if you got it. Okay, cool. All right, we'll go to Kaylee. She's going to have forbade, slash, and stalking. You probably already know what that one means, but we'll find out how that they use it in this book. Okay, Jeremy, you're going to have ancestor. So write this down. Although you already have this document, I sent it to you. You're going to have herbs and labored. Okay. TJ, you're going to have devilfish, brackish, and legend. Okay, sound good? Give me a thumbs up if you got your words. Awesome. All right, guys, we have just a couple minutes. I want to take you to the poetry site just so you can kind of see how cool it's looking. Now, for 6th graders, oh, you know what? Actually, the rest of you are already 6th graders or all 6th graders, so you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Never mind. I wanted to share some of the 4th and 5th grade poetry because they're doing a poetry unit, but it won't make any sense to you. And my 5th graders have left for the day. So that's cool. All right, guys, it's been fun. We are done for this morning. Are there any questions? No? All right, give me a wave goodbye. Bye. See you later. You did great today. Great job, everyone.